2023 the year of the strike? All right, so UAW strike is this Friday. It's supposed to happen, and it looks like it's guaranteed to happen. It's part of the reason that Tesla's popping off today. Keep an eye on some other EV companies. All right, so we've had lots of strikes this year. It started out really with Starbucks was the big one, right? Started out with Starbucks. Okay, we had lots of locations start to do unionization. They were doing it individually, not at a corporate level, and it started popping off. We had a couple that were successful. Then we had some union breaking, and then we had them fire a bunch of people. They ended up losing a suit about that, and more of those people got paid out. And so we saw Starbucks. Then we saw American Airlines. No, sorry. Then we saw the pilots union and Delta. No, let me take that back. We saw the railroad strike, which was going to impact the U.S. economy at about $10 billion a week potentially, right? We saw this one. This one, the administration stepped in and kind of an arbitration with it. Railroad strike, the railroad union guys kind of got screwed on this one. The government kind of stepped in on this one. It is what it is. We saw FedEx. No, it wasn't FedEx. UPS. We had Delta. Airline pilots ended up getting 41% increase. Then we saw UPS. Okay, we started seeing them get. They got their up to $150,000 for drivers. Now we're seeing. We also saw American Airlines. They went in before Delta. They got an increase. And now we're also seeing, what's the other ones that are coming out right now? We've got the Las Vegas hospitality. We've got the flight attendants. Which other ones am I missing here? Oh, we got the writer strike right now. And the big one, the UAW. Okay? Had a lot of strikes this year. Unprecedented, but it makes sense considering the fact that we've had so many, people move jobs, and we've seen people make more money moving jobs in the public sector, and we've seen, the GDP increase. We've seen profits skyrocket from a lot of companies. So what we're seeing is that these guys are taking advantage of good times. It's not a coincidence that some of the huge ticket prices and bounce backs on some of these airlines have caused this. UPS made record profits. There's a lot going on here, okay? But a lot of these are going down right now. Some of them have resolved, others haven't. But each time, they're getting more and more benefits. And I want you to think about it like, not a direct correlation, but look at it like the NFL, right? You're seeing contracts come out. And so when a really big star player signs a big contract, the biggest contract for that position in history, well, the next big star player who's up for contract is going to use that as a benchmark, right? They're going to say, well, look how much this, and I have nearly the same productivity or more. I want just as much, near, or more money. And it kind of like raises the bar. This is not me saying that people don't deserve money. I'm just letting you know how that works. Now, let's talk about the UAW. We've talked about all these morning over morning, but let's talk about the UAW right now. This one is the one that I'm watching right now because this one is at the biggest impasse, or the sides are too far apart right now. Now, let's break down a little history here. This isn't over just vehicles. This is over mostly EVs. Now, what started this? Inflation Reduction Act, Infrastructure Act, whatnot. The Biden administration wants to is investing tens of billions of dollars, okay, into EV manufacturers. Most notably, U.S.-based ones. Well, U.S.-based. GM, Ford, and Stellantis. Well, this is where the administration is having a tough time because they invested all this money for them, but did not allocate any of it for workers. Okay, they didn't do like a special allocation within the bill saying we're going to give you this money, but you also have to increase workers' pay or benefits. That wasn't part of the deal. So now that we know that, okay, now that we know that this administration is huge on green energy and EVs, but also states that they're big on labor. Well, These union workers are looking at these EV companies and saying, you guys just got tens of billions of basically subsidies, basically extra windfall money that you didn't do anything to produce, and it's to up the production of this, and we're getting none of it. We're getting none of it. So we want some of that. I can see why they say that. I mean, you're looking at a company that's getting all this money to help develop and build these things, you know, and we're part of that process. We are part of that. We should get some of that money. Like, I can see their argument here, right? And that's what's going on right now. So the administration is having to be very careful and probably quiet, but very careful about this strike because both things that they're supporting are at odds with each other. Now, let's fast forward. GM and Ford both came with an up and offer for pay. That was rejected. As of this morning, what we're hearing is that the 160,000 member UAW, okay, is asking for 1, a 46% raise, 2, shorter work weeks, and the thing I think is the biggest one, pensions back. So one of the reasons that boomers are so well off is a lot of them worked for a lot of these companies that were booming post-World War II, and they worked for them for 20, 30 years. They left and they got a pension. And the fact is that as population, as medical advancements happen and people live longer, it actually strains the economy and the younger people more, because what is the general thing that happens? Whether you like it or not, the truth is that Social Security is run like a Ponzi scheme, right? It's not, but it's run like it. The people that are paying in now are people that your money is paying out the people that are on it. And the idea is that you're paying them, and then when you get there, the younger generation will pay for you to have your money, right? And it goes like that. Problem is we're getting a smaller and smaller population. As people age and live longer, they collect those benefits more, and their pensions last a lot longer. Think about it. Corporations, when they were paying out pensions to people in the 60s and 70s, I mean, the average life expectancy was like 66 years old. So if you retired at 60 or even 55, they were paying you out for a couple of years and you died. But now people are living to be 80, and they're like, well, shit, we're not doing this. And then there was a fun little thing where they found out that there was a loophole for CEOs to get their taxable income down by using 401ks. And then they realized, well, hey, we could just use these 401ks for lower income workers and push them off the pension plan. And that's what happened. And after the Great Recession of 2008, the last pensions in these major auto industries were gone. So they want the pensions back. So this is the three things that they want, the biggest three things that they want. The problem is the deadline is Friday. So the question is are they going to come down on their offer or on their demands, not demands, their ask, or are these guys going to come up on their offer? And if they don't, remember, it's just the EV sector for now. If they don't, that production's going to halt. And if that production halts, you're going to see others with the win, because it's going to talk about potential delays in production, stoppage in work, and deliveries and whatnot. So if that happens, you're going to see that some of these other companies are probably going to get a little bit of a bump. Tesla this morning got hit with an upgrade for AI, and the fact that we turned out over the weekend there's no new deal or no deal getting closer. You've also got, not that I like them, but you've got Rivian, you've got what's the other one? Fuck. No, that's the Chinese ones. I'm talking about the U.S. ones. No, Nikola's doing Lucid. There you go. You got Lucid. You got FSR. You got a couple small ones. You do have XPEV. There's a few else out there, but XPEV is more China and Europe. But you've got some of these other ones that could potentially benefit. Now the question becomes, if they go on strike, does it spread to some of those as well? We don't know. The UAW doesn't represent as many of those. And that's why it's good or bad being part in a company that has a union, depending on your outlook on it, right? Like where you're at. But based on precedents, we've seen that these other companies have caved a bit. So you know, you're talking about a time when this profit is absolutely insane. They don't want to lose it, but at the same time, they're trying to look at their books. I don't know where we're going to go from here. From the SAG-AFTRA standpoint, we have Netflix and Disney are leading the charge to try to get a new deal because they don't have backlogs the same way as some of these other companies do. They don't have the IP that they can re-release on some of these. Now, I think Netflix is in a better position because they can just do licensing like they used to. If you guys remember the old school Netflix, I'm not talking about getting the DVDs in the mail. I'm talking about like when it was just all movies that wasn't their own intellectual property. They were just licensing and then bringing it in. They can survive on that. Disney, on the other hand, they have some backlog. They can regurgitate some stuff, but they're in a worse spot here. Okay, that's why they're leading the charge right now. They need this done. We already saw Warner Brothers come out last week and say they're expecting $500 million loss from this, okay? Now, another little funny fact about this is that you have some of these businesses saying that they are actually going to see a shitload more cash on hand, right? Because they're not spending any money. They're not spending money on production. They're not spending money on marketing. They're not spending. So they're going to have a lot more cash on hand, which could be good for them when they go into, when the strike is over. If it does ever end, they'll be able to pick up where they were off. But what is going to happen on the meantime? What's going to happen in between those times? And so that's kind of what we're looking at. And cable TV is getting a little bit of love from this, but I think it's all going to come down to licensing right now. And I think that some of the studios are going to do better than expected because they're going to get some licensing fees from places like Netflix, Hulu maybe, and some others because they just don't have anything. Now, they do have some backlog, but they're not going to be big hits. I mean, Netflix survives on that one fucking YOLO that works out for them every quarter, whether it's Stranger Things, whether it's Jeffrey Dahmer, whether it's Wednesday, whether it's Witcher, whatever it is. They have to rely on that because for every one that they have as a big hit, they have 10 or 15 or 20 that just flop. Wokeature? Oh God, is everything woke now? Is that the word we're using now? Is just woke? Oh my God, you guys are degenerates. I'm out of here.